Hello and welcome to Money Matters on TV360 Nigeria. I'm Okpeyemi Owosheni. The Senate has confirmed the appointment of 12 persons as members of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. This confirmation comes after a report of the Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance and other financial institutions were considered by the Red Chamber. The confirmation of the new NPC members comes days to the first Monetary Policy Committee meeting of the Apex Bank under the new CBN Governor Olayemi Cardoso. In November 2023, Cardoso had said the NPC meetings had not been effective under his embattled predecessor, Godwin Emefiele. The Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPC CEO, Mele Kyari, has disclosed that no public wealth creation endeavor can achieve any meaningful success without energy security. Kyari disclosed this in a presentation at the Ministry of Finance Incorporated Public Wealth Management Conference in Abuja. He listed some of the impediments to the achievement of energy security in Nigeria, to include lack of investment in the energy sector due to uncertainty in the business environment and multiple taxation, adding that in the last 10 years, less than 3% of the total investment flowing into Africa came into Nigeria. He disclosed that Nigeria has a huge energy deficit, with about 70% of the population lacking access to clean cooking fuel and over 50% lacking access to electricity. He, however, assured that NNPC was working hard to lay the foundation for sustainable wealth creation by filling the energy deficit gap, stressing that the company's growth trajectory from a loose position of 803 billion in 2018 to 2.5 trillion naira in 2022 was a testimony to the abundant potential of NNPCL to lead the process of wealth creation in the country. We'll go on a short break and be back with the latest happenings in the corporate world. Welcome back. Mesovest, a natural gas distribution company, and Eliz, an automobile dealer, have concluded plans to introduce an eco-friendly, cost-effective, and sustainable alternative to petrol through the establishment of compressed natural gas (CNG) daughter stations. The managing director of Mesovest, Tosin Thompson, says the hike in the price of petrol and diesel informed the development. He added that Mesovest will oversee logistics, site location, technology integration, and operational execution, while Eliz will provide automotive support, offer CNG-compatible vehicles, and spearhead marketing efforts through his extensive network. On his part, Demola Adeojo, the CEO of Eliz Autoland, expressed confidence and excitement about the partnership, describing it as timely and economically imperative. According to him, the cost savings will translate into increased disposable income that will impact Nigeria's economy positively. United Bank for Africa (UBA plc), a multinational Pan-African financial services group, has been announced as the official sponsor of the 4th edition of the ECOWAS Mining and Petroleum Forum taking place in Cotonou, Benin Republic. The regional event themed ECOMOF 2024 is expected to see a large gathering of key players in the mining and petroleum sectors of ECOWAS. UBA, as the preferred partner for the event, has underlined the bank's commitment to the growth of the mining and petroleum industry in the sub-region and the continent at large. President of the Republic of Benin and his Nigerian counterpart, Bola Tinubu, who also doubles as the chairman of ECOWAS, will be at the forum. ECOMOF 2024 underscores the significance of transforming the mining and oil sectors into economic pillars by formulating attractive policies for investors, essential for the sector's substantial contribution to the gross domestic product (GDP) of ECOWAS member states. We'll take a break now. The program will be back shortly. The National Bureau of Statistics (NBS) has disclosed that Nigeria imported 11.94 billion litres of premium motor spirits (PMS), popularly known as petrol, during the first half of 2023. The Petroleum Product Distribution Statistics for half-year 2023 released earlier outlined a 3.29% increase compared to the 11.56 billion litres recorded in the same period of 2022. The report revealed that 2.83 billion litres of automotive gas oil, also known as diesel, were imported during the first half of 2023, marking a substantial 49.72% surge compared to the 1.89 billion litres in the corresponding period of 2022. Meanwhile, as of 2023, the Nigerian government had declared its intention to cease fuel importation by 2024, attributing this decision to the commencement of operations at the 650,000 barrel per day Dangote refinery and the government-owned Port Harcourt refinery. However, Dangote refinery is gearing up to import crude from the US in the coming months, highlighting the increasing competitiveness of American barrels in the global market. Joining me to discuss this further is economist Akin Ogunshola. Thank you for joining me on the program, Mr. Ogunshola. So now, what factors do you think contributed to Nigeria's large import of nearly 12 billion litres of petrol in the first half of 2023?
All right. For the first half of 2023, NNPC, has released, or NBS has released a data that Nigerians have, used 12 billion litres of fuel. Now, when we break that figure down to what Nigerians consume per day, we tend to try to investigate the reality or the realistic nature of the figure that is turned out, 12 billion litres. And you know that in this regime, from January to June of 2023, government was still paying subsidy, up till May, government was still paying subsidy of this petrol. And there's tendency that figures are hiked. But not to take us into that, talking about what must have, made Nigerians to consume up to that, is that not the question? Now, what have caused that is because Nigeria is still relying on importation. Petrol is not produced, 1 litre of petrol is not produced in Nigeria. Nigeria still rely on, importation of petroleum products, not just petrol now. And as a result of that, we need petrol to drive energy, to drive transportation, to drive prices of commodities in Nigeria. And relying on that, to move our economic activities forward, Nigerians need petrol to actually do their businesses, to move from one place to another, to convey goods from the farm to the cities, to the malls, for the final consumers to have access to them. So a lot of economic activities is built around the use of petrol in Nigeria, not just for the, the rich, but also even for the common man. Everybody uses petrol, especially on a daily basis. So it drives business activities, it drives the energy of Nigeria, it drives the GDP of the country. So everybody relies on petrol. So possibly the consumption might be high, but the question, the doubt is in the amount of liters that has been thrown to the public now.
So the imports marks a substantial 49.72% surge compared to the 1.89 billion litres in the corresponding period of 2022. Now, what impact does such a high volume of petrol imports have on Nigeria's economy, particularly in terms of foreign exchange reserves and government spending?
Thank you very much for that question. I was just saying that we are in doubt of that figure. And then now, look at it, 49% increase from 2022 to 2023. How sure are we? What has increased? What has changed from 2022? How many people, got more cars? How many people got more generators that use fuel for power? That we jack up the consumption by 50% comparing to 2022. And that's where we are actually not comfortable with that figure. And we know the reason why that figure went up, because government was still subsidizing. And it was because of this continuous increase in the volume of liters of petrol that is being said that Nigerians are consuming. That is why we couldn't sustain subsidy anymore, because the liters of consumption continue to increase, and then government continues to pay more subsidy. If you even look at the statistics, the subsidy that we have, or let me say 5/12 of 2023, higher than what we paid in 2025 months, while that of 2022 was for 1 year. I think there's a lot of corruption around this subsidy regime, this importation of petroleum, and all that. And that is why President Tinubu, on assumption of office in 2023, said subsidy has to be, taken away. In fact, all the presidential candidates before the election, during the debates and the campaigns, they all said they were going to remove subsidy because they feel there is a lot of covering up, a lot of corruption in that sector, and people are just inflating figures just to collect subsidy from government, And that's why we feel that the subsidy is not sustainable, because it has made Nigeria to be more indebted. We are now just borrowing money, to pay subsidy. NNPC came out in 2023 to say that it is the profit from the sales of crude oil that is being used to pay for subsidy. And that's why NNPC is not remitting any gains, from the sale of crude oil into the federation account. And then all the gains of federation accounts is being used to finance subsidy. These are the challenges. It has also made Nigeria to borrow. And the more we borrow, the more our exchange rates begin to, go down. And that's the impact that's had, because we borrowed, and we borrowed to the extent that we couldn't borrow again. We had to look for ways and means from the central bank, amending the law through the National Assembly to see that we can, either go for printing more money or, borrowing more money from the central bank locally and all that. So all these borrowings affected the exchange rate of the Naira. And all this money, we couldn't use it for any tangible project. We say we're using it to finance subsidy of petrol. And that's why President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said that subsidy has to go. And that's why we are where we are today.
Now, as of 2023, the Nigerian government declared its intention to cease fuel importation by 2024, attributing this decision to the commencement of operations at the 650,000 barrels per day Dangote refinery and the Port Harcourt refinery as well. Now, how feasible do you think this is, saying that both refineries are yet to begin operations?
Yes, government has its own plan, but government has limitations on relying on the private sector, on the private business of somebody to actually, set up a deadline. We know even in 2023 that Dangote has shifted the date of commencement of the refinery more than 4 times. The refinery was set to commence production in 2023. It was set to produce in August. From August, it was shifted to September, and continuous shifting in date. And I'm surprised that government could even plan on, a refinery that they've disappointed on the date of production due to non-availability of crude. It's not as if the refinery is not set. The refinery was commissioned in, I think, around March or so, or April 2023. They were fully ready, but there was no crude for them to produce. Nigeria only gave Dangote refinery about 6 million barrels of crude oil from the Agbami well. That's on the offshore. And after 6 million barrels, was supplied to Dangote, Dangote couldn't get more crude. Dangote scheduled to even start with diesel and aviation fuel, not even petrol. They said subsequently later. In fact, all this shifting of dates makes it unrealistic. We have even lost count of how the management of the refinery has been shifting the date. So federal government promised that the Port Harcourt refinery will be coming up, and they lited the refinery. It was tested, it's working. But the problem now is not just for us to have a refinery. The problem that we are seeing now is how can we get crude oil for local production, as we are even seeing Shell, Total Energies surrendering their onshore wells. They don't want to operate on the onshore again. Who are the investors that will come in? Some of our wells are not being operated, again, especially those on the onshore, which has reduced the amount of barrels of crude that we produce per day. We are not even meeting up with what we budgeted for 2024 to actually extract and sell, not to now talk of government budgeting for local refinery. Let's say Port Harcourt refinery is working today. Yes, where will they get crude oil to pump into Port Harcourt refinery for local consumption? Because some of our crude oil production have been used to subscribe for loan, especially at the Exim Bank. You will recall that NNPC signed a loan agreement with the Exim Bank. Is it International Exim Bank, or I think Nexim or something, for 300 million barrels of crude? And that will be, they give us that $300 million or so, $3 billion, so that they will be collecting the crude, as we produce. So where are we going to get this crude? We are even falling short in terms of production. Government budgeted about 1.8 million barrels of crude per day. And now we are just struggling to meet up with 1.5, 1.6. We've not even met up with what we intend to produce per day for us to generate revenue, not to now talk of planning for local production. So even if our refineries are working now, where do we get the crude to actually pump into the refinery for us to produce? And that's why Dangote had to look out for, importing crude from the United States. So, and if Dangote is importing from the United States, government cannot peg the price at which it's going to sell the products to the citizens. In fact, I read the news that Dangote is about to export fuel outside of Nigeria, because I don't know what's happening to Nigerian market, that Dangote is not even planning to, release fuel into Nigeria economy. Rather, it wants to export what they have produced so far. So I think the problem is so enormous that it's deep-rooted. And I think the president needs to look at it critically so that we can turn around the economy of Nigeria. It's so critical that the problem has now boiled down to our crude oil. We still have a lot of illegal crude refining in Nigeria, illegal bunkers in the south, and we don't know what the government is doing about that. Though we see government trying their best, clamping on them on a daily basis, but I think they are still far more than what we are even seeing on the news of government clamping down on them. So government need to look at how we production of crude oil and also gas. Government need to look at how we can increase production. We have this gas under our soil, naturally endowed country. But government need to look beyond NLNG. Government need to invite more investors to come and help us extract gas so that we can, export more gas, so that we can generate revenue and also meet up with the energy requirements of Nigeria. So the problem is deep rooted into the production of crude oil rather than just looking at refineries working.
So now, how does the reliance on petrol imports affect Nigeria's energy security and long-term economic stability in the country?
Importation of petrol in Nigeria is a major economic factor that determines the exchange rate. It determines our borrowings. It determines our GDP, because if we are not producing petroleum products in Nigeria, it also affects our GDP. If Nigeria today begins to refine petrol locally, our GDP is going to improve, and also the per capita income is also going to improve. So petroleum importation in Nigeria is a very key economic factor that is making Nigeria's economy to continue to, dwindle, to go up and down. So it's a very, very important factor. No country, among all the oil-producing countries, I think it's only Nigeria that is still importing petroleum products. And government has deemed it fit that, okay, maybe because our refineries are down, and we are actually working on, bringing up Port Harcourt refineries, the Warri refineries, to compete alongside with the Dangote refineries. But just like I said, we have now seen more that it's not just having a refinery. It's about, having crude for you to, the raw material to import into the refinery for you to produce the petroleum product, which Nigeria seems to have abundance of it. But I think, production is going down. We've also seen oil thieves continuing to steal the, crude oil that we've got. We've seen banditry, we've seen kidnapping in the south, discouraging investors from coming in. So how can our production actually go up? Nigeria needs to look at how to improve oil production, not just for sale, but also for local refining, so that will also assist in boosting the energy, the economy, the GDP, the exchange rate of the country is very, very key.
What strategies or policies do you recommend for Nigeria to reduce its dependence on petrol imports and strengthen its domestic oil industry?
Oh, yes. As I was speaking, I think I was mentioning the recommendations. One of the key things that government need to do is that government need to seek for more investors in the oil sector of the country, especially in the area of production. Nigeria's revenue have also, gone down. Nigeria has a revenue problem. And one of the reasons is because we are not producing, even the oil that we say that's what we have to generate revenue for us. Nigeria is not producing the optimum, is not producing to the optimum level that will, raise revenue for us and also help us in our local consumption part. Because apart from selling, crude oil to the foreign market, we also have a need of crude in Nigeria, especially for local refining to meet up with energy demands. So you sell the crude, you also produce locally for your own demand, so that you don't need to sell and begin to look out for importing what you can easily refine in your own country. So one policy I will recommend for government is also to continue to strengthen security around the oil sector. I think Shell and Total Energies that are giving up their onshore wells, to sell them off, is due to insecurity in that region. And government need to continue to give investors more assurance that they are safe, the environment is safe for them to operate, the environment is safe for them to produce, so that our revenue can actually increase. And also reliance on importation of petroleum products, not just fuel, even diesel is still imported in Nigeria, which is a major energy sector, material that is used to drive energy. So if we are importing diesel, we're importing fuel, we're importing aviation fuel and other petroleum products, then I think it's a big problem for the economy. The Nigerian government needs to look at what to do quickly in order to salvage the situation that Nigeria is going through now.
So now, given the global transition towards renewable energy sources, how do you see Nigeria's energy landscape evolving in the coming years, and what implication will this have for our economy?
Oh, yeah, that's a very good one. The world is now looking at renewable energy because the world is going green. The world wants to go green because of pollution of the environment. One area that the world is looking at when it comes to the terms of renewable energy is the area of gas, which Nigeria is the 7th largest producer of gas in the world, and also the largest in Africa. We are number 1 in Africa when it comes to deposit of gas, in the ground. So talking about gas is a clean energy, and that's why government is also looking towards the CNG for vehicle, the CNG for big equipments, instead of using the diesel and the petrol. CNG also serves as a form of clean energy, and also the other renewable energy that people are also looking at too is looking at the solar system, looking at the wind, the sun, energy from the sun and all that, which Nigeria is also endowed with that. We have a lot of, sun in Nigeria. When you go to the seaside too, in Cross River, in Akwa Ibom, in Lagos, we have Atlantic Ocean borders that we can generate wind energy from, the currents from the ocean can also generate energy. These are renewable energy that the world is actually looking at, which Nigeria is also endowed with them. But possibly the government of Nigeria has not, looked towards that side. So government need to begin to listen to researchers, to have more, idea on the areas that government can generate renewable energy apart from crude oil and petroleum products. The researchers are there, they've done so much research. Nigeria has the opportunity, Nigeria has the resources to actually invest into that sector. And if they don't have, they can, allow foreign investors to come into the economy to produce clean energy for Nigeria, so that there can be power, there can be energy for production, so that our economy can have, a very positive turnaround. And that's what government needs to look at in the coming years.
Well, economist Akin Ogushola, thank you for lending your thoughts on the program. Well, that's all we have on this episode of the program. Thank you for watching. I'm Okpeyemi Owosheni. See you next time.